Let's move now to the streets of London, and Juliana Olayinka joins us now from our London studio. Good morning, Juliana. Trust you had a great weekend in spite of the COVID-19 crisis.
Good morning, Bissy. Yes, I did have a great weekend inside.
Well, tell us, how's London waking up to another week of the COVID-19 fight?
Well, I suppose it's a similar situation right across the world. Yesterday, there was another 209 deaths from COVID-19 in the UK, bringing the total number up to 1,228. There are over 20,000 cases here. And I suppose now a lot of the discussion here in the UK is just how long these draconian lockdown measures are set to continue. A lot of Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister's main team, are sick, including the Chief Medical Officer. So yesterday, during the daily briefing, it was taken by the Deputy Chief Medical Officer for England. And she did say, you know, that the lockdown measures will be reviewed in 12 weeks' time. But under no circumstances can anybody in the UK think that after 12 weeks, life can continue as normal, that it would be dangerous for it to go down that way. So there are many discussions. One of the main discussions, and I think this was really pulled up yesterday when the former Prime Minister Tony Blair gave an interview to one of the big TV stations, and it was testing, that there needs to be mass testing taking place in the UK. I believe so far there's been over 100,000 tests, but this needs to be massively ramped up. And they said if they do start ramping up these tests, then the government can look at trying to slow down some of these lockdown measures so the economy can start working again and so people can start going out to work. Another big talking point here in the UK at the moment, Bissy, as well, is personal protective equipment for staff. A lot of, thousands of people in the frontline NHS battle to save people are really struggling. Over the weekend, two senior medical practitioners working within the NHS died after contracting COVID-19. And so that's a major issue. So testing and trying to get these personal protective equipment for staff members.
Virgin Atlantic is expected to ask for a government bailout worth hundreds of millions of pounds in the coming days, even when the Chancellor has ruled out any further airline bailout. Will the government listen to them?
Well, the government will certainly listen, because this is a huge issue. And we know that COVID-19 has affected everybody, but particularly the aviation and airline industry. There are estimates that it could cost them £250 billion. And yes, you're right. Last weekend, the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak, did write to the aviation industry saying that any further government bailout would only be as a last resort, that they would need to speak to their wealthy shareholders and they would need to inject some cash of their own. Now, Virgin Atlantic's a really big brand, you know, very popular, particularly with people that travel to and from Nigeria, but it doesn't have the cash reserves as their competitors like EasyJet, which obviously just today grounded their 330 fleet, or British Airways. Virgin Atlantic just do not have that money. Richard Branson, the billionaire who owns the brand, he did say last week that he would be putting in $250 million of his own money, but that isn't enough. They were one of the first airline organizations to ground their staff and say to them, please, can you take 2 months unpaid leave? So this money that they're asking for the government isn't for their staff, it's for their other costs that they have. And the Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, is expected to ask for a detailed measure, and if they can pay, then they will pay. But it's definitely not a write-off because the aviation industry is just so important to the British economy.
Now, lead us into the week, Juliana. What are the expectations?
Gosh, well, what are the expectations? Well, COVID-19 isn't going to be going away any time soon. But over the weekend, the story did seem to shift slightly for the FTSE All-Share. It opened about 2.6% down, but that's mainly because of oil. Oil is now trading much lower due to this ongoing Saudi Arabia-Russia spat. Brent crude is trading below $23 a barrel. So lots of the oil majors are sharing much lower this morning. Brent Shell is down 2.6%. Also as well, BP are down 2.50%. But then also aerospace-related stocks, they're trading much lower. Some of them are in bear market territory, and that's because EasyJet, the budget airliner, did say today that for the next 2 months at least, they will not be flying any of their 330 airplanes. So yes, COVID-19 will be the dominant discussion all week this week.
Thank you, Juliana. We'll see you again at 1:30. And bringing things back home now to the debt and currencies markets, let's bring in a fixed income dealer with Access Bank, Femi Ogudimu. Good morning, Femi. Tell us, how much of improvement are you expecting in the debt market this week, especially in the area of demand?
Good morning. So regarding the fixed income market, we actually don't expect so much to happen given the current lockdown that has been recorded or like about to start. So in between last week and this week, we've seen reduced activities in the market all through last week. On the fixed income market, on the two-week course market, with activity. On the bonds market, same thing. What we actually have been recording is more of bilateral trades between parties. But for today, we've seen even lesser trades consummated between parties. So we don't really expect much activity.
But as a trader, what are your expectations from the OMO maturities of 110 billion naira this week? Are you likely to give some considerations to the longer end of the curve, given the federal government's response to COVID-19 and, of course, the announcement of some initiatives?
Whatever has happened in the market. So, like I said, there are few activities going on in the market. So, if you observe, last week, the CBN did not issue any HOMO. 2 weeks ago, they didn't because, given the policy regarding, barring local investors from investing in the market, we've seen fewer players going to the market except banks. And on the bank side, too, if they happen to go, you find out that, CBN debit MCR. So, because of this, you find out that a lot of banks are not really interested in that market at this point in time. Now, the foreign investors, on the other hand, who are the major players in that market, you've seen that instead of buying almost securities, they're actually being a more sell down in that space. So we expect even less activity that I don't even think CBN is going to issue at the market. I think it's going to raise any more in that market.
And what's the currency?
Okay. Very reduced. Given that demand is very reduced, as in the players are not really, interested in that market at the moment.
All right, Femi, just before you go, tell us, what's the currency side looking like at the moment? What's the Naira trading at the INE window?
So at the INE window, we saw rates trying to have 390 to the dollar. The NAFEX rate was about 380 something, about 382. The rates actually have, depreciated, and based on the current evaluation by the CBN, or the price that we went to CBN way, so the official rate could at 360. That has also impacted the INE window. But the most important thing is more of the availability of funds. There hasn't been influence in that market. Like I said in my previous analysis, that the foreign portfolio investors are actually exiting the market, I think, coming in, and they're one of the major sources of influence into the market. So due to that, we've seen scarcity, funds and rates, depreciating further to 390 levels.
Fixed income dealer with Access Bank, Femi Ogudimu, thanks for speaking with us. Now let's do a quick recap of the crude oil markets. Now, of course, the benchmarks opened lower today as Brent has hit its lowest level since 2002. Of course, this follows the rising number of the coronavirus pandemic cases across the globe and, of course, the Saudi Arabia-Russia price war, which is showing no signs of abating. Now, Brent futures were down to $23.25 a barrel, and U.S. crude futures fell as far as $19.92, having traded down 5.4%. Of course, we have our eyes on this market and will continue to bring you updates, of course, bring you the figures as they come in. And that's our program today. Thank you for watching. I am Bisi Adebayo.